Knights at the Round Table, a round table discussion on speculative fiction books and film. Hi everybody, and welcome to the next episode of Knights at the Round Table. Today we are discussing the, I don't know what to call this kind of fiction. Urban fantasy, I guess.
YA supernatural...
That book,
thing?
I Am Not a Serial Killer by Dan Wells. Okay. And I'd like to start with general... Oh, sorry, I'm sitting at the table here with Éric, and I'd like to start with general impressions of the book. Éric?
I had heard a lot about the book from the author. He has a podcast with a few other authors called Writing Excuses.
Oh, yeah, you were telling me about that.
So there's him, Howard Taylor from Schlock Mercenary Comics, and that giant sci-fi fantasy guy.
So giant that you remember him?
He finished the Sword of Truth.
Oh, Sanderson.
Sanderson, yeah. Brandon Sanderson. So those three and Mary Kowal, Robinette Kowal, I think her name is.
Okay.
She's big.
Oh, to get...
One you goes and...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, I've been paying attention.
Anyway, those four do the podcast. At first it was the three guys, but they brought her in because she's awesome. And so I had heard a lot about it, but reading it, woof, it's uncomfortable in good ways and bad.
Oh, okay. I'm fairly ambivalent about this book. I enjoyed it. It was a great read. It was a little lighter than I was expecting.
Physically?
Oh, yeah, that too. No, in the reading it was a little lighter. Although I do like how conflicting sort of fighting the demon was in the end.
Yeah, it was morally ambiguous, which is kind of nice in a YA with a demon in it.
Yeah, yeah.
No, it's just there's a lot about John that I uncomfortably relate to.
Or what, like how fascinated he is with serial killers.
How fascinated he is, the random urges to do something not good type thing. Like,
oh, okay.
I'm assuming I'm not the only one who stood behind someone and went, it'd be really easy to snap their neck.
Yes.
Why am I thinking this?
Yes. Yeah.
But
no, you're not the only one.
Yeah. And I tend to really get into the character protagonist, especially as a first person.
Oh, okay.
And so it's actually the opposite of what he has. It's probably because I'm really empathic towards it that I start feeling like him, and I'm like, no, I am not a serial killer. I am not a serial killer. Super awesome to read on the bus. Nobody sits next to you.
Oh!
This one and the third one.
What's the third one?
I don't want to kill you. I think the second one's Mr. Monster.
Okay. Yeah, for myself, as I enjoyed the book. I thought it was light, relatively speaking, given the subject matter. I enjoyed the conflict. I loved how morally ambiguous everything was. I couldn't relate so much to the main character or the protagonist because it's because I'm empathetic. So weirdly enough, I don't understand what it's like not to be able to understand when somebody else is upset.
Not understanding other people is half my life.
I mean, not understanding the whys, but the whens.
It's also the whats. Like, I have stood in front of people who are saying something and I'm like, I don't know what they want or what they're feeling or what's going on right now.
Oh, really?
It happens to me a lot, and so probably makes me come off as callous, or easy to tease. I don't know. But there was so many times that people would ask me questions in high school, and my first instinct would be, are they teasing me? Are they trying to make fun of me? I don't understand what's going on. So in that case, I could sort of...
See, when I was in high school, I just assumed everybody was teasing me. I was a very miserable child.
Well, I had a few people that I trusted not to tease me.
I didn't. I mean, this is one of those books that I don't really have all that much to say about it because, yeah, it was fine.
I liked the subversion of some tropes in which YA, a lot of the time, especially the older YA, the main character is 100% good, and they represent everything amazing, and they're not special in any way whatsoever, and their family is there to help them, but they're too afraid to ask.
Right.
Type thing. While this, it made sense that he didn't go to his mom.
Yeah.
There was never a point where I'm like, oh, for heaven's sakes!
Yeah.
Just talk to an adult!
Yeah.
Although there was also not my most hated trope.
Which is the adult...
That's the adult poo-poo and like, oh, you're just making it up. Yeah, it wasn't world-altering, but it also was entertaining.
Yeah, it was entertaining.
For something that dealt heavily with murder and... Okay, that's probably not a good example. With mental illness, in a way, or mental divergence?
Is it mental... Yeah, I guess it would be, yeah.
It is interesting.
Neuroatypical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wonder how much research the author did versus if the author is...
Oh,
I couldn't find any information.
On it?
Yeah.
I didn't even think of it. I mean, it came off as true.
Yeah, it didn't come off as, like, a lot of the time in movies and TVs and books, it's sort of... Ugh.
Yeah,
like,
when you read it, you're like, oh,
such a stereotype.
Yeah, you didn't do any research at all, did you? You just relied on popular portrayals, didn't you? Yeah, and it didn't feel like that in this book, which was nice. I do have one... I don't want to say it's minor, because it does bug me. Gripe is... They gave away the demon thing too soon.
I was shocked, because I remembered reading it, and I remember... In my mental image, the demon thing didn't show up till near the end.
Which it shouldn't have showed up until the end. I wanted to find out about the demon thing at the same time the character did. But instead there was sort of like a throwaway line but we didn't know we were dealing with the demon then. Sort of like one third of the way into the book. I'm like, no! Now you've just ruined it!
Halloween would have been more fun if we had realized there were real demons out there.
Yeah, or something like that.
But that's for later.
Yeah, no!
That's a first book author mistake. I find.
Editors should have called.
Yes, absolutely. I remember I had a whole bunch of that in my first book.
Yeah.
Where it was sort of a tongue-in-cheek narrator, ha ha ha, and then people were like, "Yeah, that's annoying."
Yeah, it was. It annoyed me. I would much rather have loved to have found out the demon thing when the character is viewing it, when he's hiding behind the snowbank at the lake.
It would have had way more impact.
Way more impact. And honestly, the rest of the book, the whole serial killer angle was interesting enough, and the protagonists dealing with everything was interesting enough that you could have gotten away with such a late reveal.
Well, it wasn't even that late. The actual reveal of the demon was like maybe a third, no more than a half of the way through the book.
Oh, it was a bit after that.
Not by much.
Yeah.
Most of the book, like the second half of the entire book, was dealing with it.
With it, yeah.
So no, you didn't need that Halloween.
No, you didn't need that throwaway sentence, and frankly, it ruined the surprise.
I read it and I was like, wait, what? Already?
Yeah.
And I expected the next scene. But no.
I wanted the reveal as the character was figuring it out or seeing it. That would have been way more effective, I think. So yeah, it grates on me because the rest of the book was great. As far as these books. I mean, it was fine. I enjoyed it. I'm not sad I read it. Yeah. So, yeah.
It was a emotionally difficult but easy to read book for me.
Oh, yeah. See, I didn't get that invested in it.
Yeah. I have trouble not getting that invested in books. Yeah.
Well, that's a big problem for me with young adult, is I have a lot of difficulty getting invested in it a lot of the time. And there have been some very notable exceptions because of this panel that I've read some books and I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing.
See, that's why I have trouble with epic fantasy. Because there are so many characters and I feel like sometimes they don't go as much in depth, and that once I get into that headspace, they switch characters.
Yeah.
Or if you're a certain author with 3 initials in his name, you kill off the character once I get into that headspace. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. Yeah, I'm looking at you.
All of you. All of you writers with 3 initials before your surname. Every single one of you.
No, Tolkien didn't do it.
No, that's true, he didn't. His books were largely more hurtful than...
almost anything published at this point.
So more on the character being neural atypical. I really enjoyed that. I liked having a character, even though I couldn't get into that headspace because I don't understand it so well. All of us, I think, when we were teenagers, have felt on the outside looking in. Not for the same reasons, maybe. Because I think for mine, I was too sensitive, so I couldn't be part of the group because I couldn't handle all the ribbing and the teasing and it would make me cry all the time.
Well, they do mention in this, it's not that he doesn't feel emotions, it's that he doesn't understand them.
Really?
I guess that they feel them really strongly, but they don't always fully understand them. He mentions that when he's talking to his mum, and his mum calls him a robot.
Right. Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, so I think everybody's been on the outside looking in. I think everybody knows what it feels like to feel like there just isn't a place for you.
At some point, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, at some point in everybody's lives, I think you get there. So that I really enjoyed.
It's also nice not to have just the standard cookie cutter farm boy protagonist, which is very common in even non-fantasy YA. Yeah. Yeah, I
enjoyed that. I liked him being slightly wonky.
Different. I'm going to go with different as opposed to unbalanced.
Well, I didn't say unbalanced. I said wonky.
That's you can have a wonky means. It means it's not on balance.
Well, you can have a wonky bookshelf that's still perfectly balanced. It's just weirdly shaped. It's wonky.
Okay.
Nuance.
I did find there wasn't much resolution in some of the secondary plots, which are probably going to happen in further books.
Later books.
Like, he never talked to his friend again. Max disappeared after his father's death in that fight. Like, we never got to see, although it would be uncomfortable, that situation where he's trying to comfort Max. Or he's trying to say, at least I killed him for you, type thing. And there was no resolution between him and... Is her name Dove? Rose?
Rose, I think? Something like that.
It was a 4-letter name.
Yeah.
The girl he stalked. Accidentally.
Yeah. Accidentally on purpose.
Yeah. 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 So those, I'm assuming, are going to carry on into the second and third book.
Yes.
I haven't read them yet.
No, neither have I. I'm really interested to find out how he deals with the whole girl situation.
Yeah. I don't know what it is about the book. It was easy to read. It was fun. But when I got to the end, I was like, okay, I'm exhausted. Not, okay, great, I want to read the next one. And I don't know what it is about it that does that.
I think maybe it might have been its ambiguity.
Maybe.
Because I wasn't sure that I wanted the demon to die.
Oh, I knew the demon had to die.
I knew he had to, but I wasn't sure I wanted him to.
My brain, even having read this, went, it would be awesome if he took over John's body completely. And then you just switch character points of view as he's trying to figure out what it's like to be a teenage boy again.
Although if he did that, he wouldn't still be married to the woman he fell in love with.
But he could at least take care of her.
That's true. That's true. Aw, that was actually a really sweet story. If you can call a demon falling in love with somebody sweet. It was really sweet.
They made a movie of this.
What?
Yes.
When?
About 3 years ago. It was a more indie film. Christopher Lloyd played the demon.
Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah. I haven't watched it, but it's on Netflix.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to watch it now, because I can imagine it being a really good movie.
Yeah, I don't know if it's good or bad, but
they had some really cinematic moments in this that would have been really good.
That is something I'm impressed with. He writes cinema, like scenes, I can picture it. There are sometimes I read and I'm like, I can't picture this, but this was like a movie in my head.
Yeah, that's true. It flowed very nicely. Like, the language wasn't overly complicated or beautiful, but it flowed well. Yeah,
that is something I missed. I like being able to stop and go, oh, that's such a pretty sentence. But I'm weird. We've established that.
Well, no, I'm the same way.
We're weird.
I don't have any further points, because this was such a short read
it was short and it was entertaining and it was interesting. Like learning about the embalming was fun.
Oh, that was interesting. Yeah, that was fascinating.
Learning the therapy sessions were interesting. His talking about serial killers. I think him talking about serial killers made me understand what other people must feel like when I talk about Star Trek or superheroes. Like, that's fascinating, but I have no frame of reference for it.
Yeah.
So it's like listening to a fandom that you're not part of.
Yeah. Yes. There you go. That's a good way to put it. It is a bit like listening to a fandom that you're not part of.
Because, I mean, I've heard of John Cleaver. I've heard of other serial killers.
You know, the other ones. I've heard of them.
What's his name? Jack the Ripper.
Arguably the most famous of serial killers. Yeah. Yeah, although, to be fair, I find it all quite fascinating. I don't think that makes somebody particularly weird to be fascinated by serial killers and how they manage to do what they do.
And understanding them. Yeah,
trying to understand them, yeah. Yeah, it is fascinating. The human mind is fascinating. And when it goes wrong, that's doubly fascinating. At least to me.
Yeah. Or when it's applied towards something that's wrong.
Yeah.
Because a lot of serial killers, I'm not sure how wrong they were so much as doing the wrong things. Like, I'm not sure they were all necessarily sociopaths or all necessarily mentally ill, but there was something in their moral compass that was broken.
That was broken, yeah.
Yeah. Because not all mentally ill people suddenly crack and start killing people.
In fact, the majority of mentally ill people are not.
Large majority.
Killers. Yeah.
So it's interesting to see what breaks that moral compass.
Yes.
And
see, I understand. Okay, this is going to sound really weird. Sometimes I understand killing. I get it. Like, if you, for example, if you are in what you feel like is a survival situation, even if it actually isn't, if you perceive it to be, I understand that fight. I understand you breaking somebody's neck to get out of a situation. Got it. I can completely wrap my head around that. If it's you or them, then you've got to make a choice, right? And usually, hopefully, you would choose to save you rather than spare them. But it's serial killers I don't get. I don't understand how a serial killer can look at, I don't know, blonde college students and be like, yeah, you deserve to die. Yeah, you deserve to die. And just because they're blonde and a college student, I don't get it. I don't understand it. And so because I don't understand it, the quest to understand it makes it fascinating to me. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I get this character's fascination with serial killers.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I can kind of see why serial killers have types. Because there are certain people in my life who have wronged me. And when I meet someone that looks like them or reminds me of them, my first instinct is to hate them.
Oh, yeah.
I hate you. Wait, why?
Yeah, why?
Oh, you remind me of that guy who bullied me in high school. Or grade school. Or university.
Or life.
Yeah.
You remind me of that awful coworker
I can see where they go one step further and like almost believe it's the same person that they're punishing over and over again.
Except I don't think they do believe it's the same person.
No, or someone similar, or that they are the same kind. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. See, again.
I've probably spent too much time thinking about killing people or why killing people. But
everybody said I was weird for understanding how Carrie felt when she was burning the entire school to the ground. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
I
got a lot of flack for that.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yup. But I got it. I understood where she was coming from.
Yeah.
I'd probably
I thought
do the
that
same
was the
if I
entire
had
point of the book, was that you were supposed to understand where she's coming from. Yeah. It's definitely interesting, and it's something that needs to be talked about and studied so that it doesn't have that stigma. Because someone who is like John and is automatically hated and treated like a serial killer will become one. To a certain, possibly. If they Like if his parents, if he didn't have therapy, and he didn't get help, and everybody hated him and treated him like a monster, he would have more chances to give up his rules and to give in.
I guess, maybe, I don't know, that's a slippery slope. That's like people saying, well, you've been calling them Nazis for, what did you expect would happen?
No, it's not so much not calling people out on being homicidal maniacs. Sorry, Nazis, not social serial killers. It's more about just because someone is different mentally, physically, emotionally, treating them like a monster.
Yes. I agree.
That's more what I mean.
Yeah. No, I kind of agree.
Anyone whose philosophy is a certain kind of person should die needs help. Yes. Or a punch to the face. Or both. Okay. Probably not from the same person.
Maybe the punch to the face is the help that they can...
Maybe. I don't know. Back on topic.
I love the way, because of the way the protagonist is, I love the way he dealt with the demon. Firstly, by sending those threatening notes. So he dealt with it the way a serial killer kind of would. And that was really interesting. Mm-hmm. Because it was terrible behavior, really, but also...
effective.
Well, it was effective, and also it was against something that everybody would agree had to go. So even then I find it difficult to grapple with, because actually I thought the demon was really sweet, even though he was a murderous bastard.
And I think that was the point. I think the author really wanted us to side with the demon in certain times. Like, I mean, he's sending kisses to his wife on a cell phone. He's adorable. He stopped killing in order to spend his life with the woman he loved.
Yeah, he stopped.
And
assuming
to
identities.
Juxtapose someone with so much love and humanity, but who isn't a monster, and someone who thinks they could be a monster.
Yeah, but
doesn't understand that humanity. It's a wonderful.
Yeah, it is.
Parallel.
Yeah, it is. It's a fantastic parallel. Mm-hmm. And I think it was handled very well in this book.
Yeah. I never felt like the author was talking down about the character or to the audience as much.
That's the big one, yeah. A lot of my problem with young adult is, or at least old young adult stuff, when I was a young adult reading it tended to talk down to its audience, and I hated that.
Yeah, never. It doesn't talk down to the audience, and it never undercuts the main character. Mm-hmm. The protagonist doesn't say like, "I'm blah blah blah. I have trouble relating," and then in the next scene, he fully understands what his mom's going through. It is constant throughout both the narration and the internal monologue. I like the family dynamic. It felt more realistic than the majority.
Real. Yeah, single mum struggling to raise two kids, one of whom is no longer at home and is constantly bickering with her, plus the loving auntie who's pretty much the glue of the family at that point.
Yeah, and how the sister describes the mom is really cool. She describes her as wanting them to be happy so much that it drives them insane.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a very realistic family dynamic, I think.
Yeah. So there's nothing to really hate about the book. There's nothing except for that one early reveal.
Yeah, no, that still pisses me off. Like, I read it and I got mad. I got angry.
I wonder what it's missing to be like. Because I liked it, but I'm not going to put it in my top 10 list of books to read.
Yes, no, same. I mean, I'm not sad I read it. It took me all of 4 hours. It's a short read.
Mm-hmm. And at some point I might read the second one. I have it.
Oh, it'll probably go in the bowl, seeing as how we did the first one and we don't hate it.
Sounds good. What, we're not doing any more Battlestar? No,
No, we're not doing any more Battlefield Earth.
Okay. Are there more?
I don't know. I don't care to find out. Okay. And if we are, I am not on that panel. I will not put myself through that again.
I trust you. I wasn't going to put myself through it the first time.
Oh, God.
Braver than I.
Well, I figured it couldn't be that bad. It was terrible. Yeah. This book was good, but it wasn't extraordinary, so I'm struggling to find really anything all that wrong with it or all that brilliant about it.
Yeah, I'm always trying to figure out what would bring it up that extra level. Because it has almost everything that is really popular right now. Small town, boy on a bicycle, demon, a little bit of variety in the type of characters. But it needed something to bring it up that next notch, and I don't know what that is. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've failed you for that. I'm sorry. If you know what it is, please mention it in the comments.
You have failed this city.
Thanks, Oliver.
Anytime.
I hope this is the I don't want to kill Oliver from the middle seasons.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I stopped watching after the first.
Oh, I gave it 3. Then I gave up.
Mm.
Okay, so...
I guess, or just final thoughts and star rating.
It was an extremely enjoyable read, and if you have an interest in supernatural, horror, or serial killers, or like YA, read it. You will enjoy it. Mm-hmm. I'm fascinated to read what else the author has written, because he's got 2 more in this series, and then he's got another book series of 4 books that are not in the same style. It's reading the first novel of an author that is going to get really good. And
I think that there's a lot of potential there. Mm-hmm. Agreed. Star rating?
I'm going to give it a 4. Oh, okay. Because there's nothing wrong with it. I enjoyed it, and I'm probably going to reread it. 3.75? 3.76 there for Tom.
For myself, again, it was a fine book. I'm not sorry I read it. It didn't take very long to read. If it was any bigger and it was still like just okay, I think I might have had an issue. But because it was a short read, very well paced, I'll have to say. I'm still pissy about that reveal. I really am. It would have elevated the book to have the reveal way later. But yeah, it's fine. It's a great young adult book. Not sorry I read it. Would probably ask, if somebody asked should I read this book, I'd say yeah, read it. I give it about a 3, I think. It's not the worst thing that I've ever read. Which, I mean, that's not a very high bar to clear, but...
hopefully 3 points there.
Yeah.
The worst thing I've ever read was a 2.5. You've lived a perfect life.
Right? Yeah. I enjoyed it. Alright, want to pick the next one?
No, you pick it.
No, we keep having this argument, Éric.
Alright, let's see. It is upside down.
Upside down.
Blood Relations by Caroline Fréchette.
Oh.
That should be interesting. I've read it. I liked it.
Oh, have you read it? I have not read it.
That's the first one.
That's the first one. Yeah, it is. Okay, so the next book we're going to be reviewing is Blood Relations. If you have any thoughts about I Am Not a Serial Killer, leave them down in the comments below. Super interested to hear what you thought of the book. And maybe you know what could have brought it up from like a 3 to a 4. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you next week. ? Bye.
Bye.
You're
man, he's a thin man.
Yeah, I know, right?
Sitting in his seat, and I'm like, okay, everything is hanging on the table.
My favorite thing is I can now bench press John.